hey, you're really down all the time, snap out of it, or what's wrong with you. But I think that that's kind of a natural reaction, particularly with someone like Mr. Williams, where people would say, here's a guy who so many people loved. He had money, he had a family, he had the adoration of fans around the world. How could this guy who made us laugh for decades be depressed to the point of taking his own life? And I think that that's a potential answer there.
Well, according to what I was told today when we were researching for this segment, he was broke. He was bankrupt. All the money that he had earned went to all his ex-wives. So that in itself is enough to make anybody go off the deep end. And one thing about mental health, you just can't say, come on, it's all in your head. Because it is. And people have to realize that it's a very serious problem. It's in the closet. My God. Get it out of the closet. Let's face it. Let's work on it together. We're not talking about leprosy. We're not talking about Legionnaire's disease. And even when it comes to leprosy and Legionnaire's disease, people work to get these people better. But when it comes to mental health issues, it's like, no way.
Some of the numbers that we hear about as well, Rob, I think that you're certainly onto something that's very important. Here in the United States, we spend approximately around $2.6 trillion every year on the issue of health care, but only a very small minority of that goes towards mental health care or towards individuals who are addicted to either alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point now where the National Institute of Mental Health has estimated that over 50% of individuals diagnosed with bipolar disorder are not getting any kind of treatment whatsoever, drug or otherwise.
Unbelievable. I remember a time where if somebody wasn't, mental health was, oh my gosh, you put them in an asylum, oh my Lord, the loony bin.
Sure.
But they were hospitals. They weren't treated like hospitals. The doctors, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, they weren't, in my opinion, doctor, were not given the due respect that they so rightfully deserved.
It's certainly the case where you hear about these, the term is snake pits, these snake pits that people would be placed into. You certainly hear about these horror stories. Now, of course, it's something where these are usually going to be more publicized than the hospitals that weren't like this. Back in the 1980s, when we first began this process of what was called in the States, it was a movement called deinstitutionalization, of closing down these federally funded centers, these asylums, and kind of giving the responsibility of caring for the mentally ill to our communities. We really didn't have a strong infrastructure built. And so because of that, if we take a look at the population of asylums and the population of jails and prisons, what we see is that as individuals were exiting these asylums, the rates of individuals in jails and prisons skyrocketed to the point where now in the States, between 1980 to 2006, we've had over a 500% increase in terms of the population of jails and prisons. And at the same time, less than 50% of individuals who are currently incarcerated in one of these facilities in the States is actually receiving the mental health care that they need.
In your opinion, doctor, how many of the people who have been institutionalized should actually be there?
This is a very difficult question, I think, solely because what we're dealing with is a very heterogeneous group of individuals. This is something that we frequently get trouble with when it comes to conducting research. Let's say, for example, that we have two different treatments. Let's call them treatment X and treatment Y. And we go into two different hospitals, and we use treatment X and it works really well. We use treatment Y and it works terribly. And all of a sudden we say, hey, treatment X is what we really need to be using for, let's say, treating depression. But the issue is what are the characteristics of those different units? Who are the people being treated?
Right.
What's their age? What are the different diagnoses that they have? And people oftentimes forget that when it comes to something like mental illness, that very, very frequently, the rule rather than the exception, is what we refer to as comorbidity, which means the existence of multiple mental illnesses, multiple diagnoses in the same individual.
You know, I believe law enforcement should have a better knowledge when it comes to dealing with a person who could be mentally ill. We've seen this before.
Oh, certainly, yes. I think that sensitivity training is of the utmost importance, not just for mental illness, but for really any issue that's of sensitive nature, really, be it something such as mental retardation, something such as fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. There's really a whole range of different topics that I think it's very important that our valuable servicemen and women who are in the law enforcement agencies, regardless of where they are, the States, Canada, or elsewhere, that they make sure that they receive this proper training, that we be funding that actively.
I also believe, sir, that there should be greater scrutiny put onto the institutions, and that they should have civilian as well as medical review panels, because I know for a fact, and we did a show going back 14, 15 years ago, we received a call from a gentleman who was inside the Napa State Hospital. His name, Wayne Morin Jr. And what he was telling us on air were basically crimes against humanity being perpetrated in the hospital to the patients. To make a very long story short, the Canadian Minister of Justice received a call from the Minister or the Department of Justice in the States asking for a copy of our tapes for the show, which we gladly gave them. And there were several people who were charged with crimes at Napa State. There were people who were sexually abusing the patients. There was rampant selling of alcohol to the patients, narcotics. There were smuggling rings going on. So how do we take care of the people that we put into the institutions when things like this happen?
Certainly. I mean, hearing things like this, I think it no matter who's listening, whether we're medical professionals or mental health professionals or just really anyone, I think that this is really something that tugs at all of our heartstrings. And it's this terror of trying to put ourselves into the shoes of individuals who are in these kinds of facilities where these kinds of things are going on. I mean, what a tremendous challenge that must be. And it's definitely something where I completely agree. Review panels are absolutely necessary. I'm not aware of the literature that takes a look at how commonly these kinds of complaints are made.
Dr. Singh, we've got to take our break with the news. Doctor, please stand by. Dr. Jay P Singh is my special guest. www.gfrinc.com. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. I'll be back. Don't go away. My name is Rob McConnell, and I would like to tell you about a very special lady that I have the pleasure of knowing, and that's Miss Sylvia Anthony. Sylvia Anthony believes the golden years are a time to gear up and get busy, not relax and take it easy. She has faced many hardships in her 84 years, but they have made her stronger and more determined. As founder and president of Sylvia's Haven, a shelter for women and their children near Boston, Sylvia has helped transform over 1,086 lives in the past 27 years, not only with housing, but also providing direction as to where they can go to develop the earning skills they want and need to live free from difficult domestic situations. Sylvia's Haven is everything to Sylvia Anthony, even calling it her magnificent obsession. Women who qualify for the program at Sylvia's Haven receive assistance via guidance counselors to find the appropriate job opportunity. Women and their children may remain at the housing for up to 2 years. At the end of this time, or sooner, a woman who is successfully employed and has an apartment or home may leave Sylvia's Haven to begin a new and independent life. Now this is where you come in to help make Sylvia's dream into a reality. Sylvia's dream is to have a Sylvia's Haven in every state to help as many women and their children as she can, and to help this dream come true. A crowdfunding site has been established which can be accessed at www.sylviasdream.org. Now that's www.sylviasdream.org. With your financial help and support, Sylvia Anthony will continue to help those in their time of need, not only in the Boston area, but with her dream of having a Sylvia's Haven in every state of the United States. Your help is needed to make Sylvia's dream come true. Please visit and give at www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. And remember, the only difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. We need your help to make Sylvia's dream come true. Visit www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. For the X Zone Radio TV show and the X Chronicles newspaper, I am Rob McConnell.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Jay P Singh is our special guest. And Doctor, what can we do as a society to help the medical professions, to help the caregivers, to help the patients when it comes to mental illness? There's got to be something we all can do.
Sure. You know, here in the States, one of the positive developments that we're seeing here is the passing of Obamacare, so the Affordable Health Care Act, which is supposed to bring mental health care to approximately 32 million Americans who did not previously have access to it. The issue is that when it comes to the accessibility of mental health care services, still in rural areas of the United States, it is a huge problem, and even in areas which are much more urban. So, for example, I live in the state of Virginia near Washington, D.C., and one of the issues that we've had recently is a very tragic incident with the governor of the state, Governor Clay Deeds, whose son had a variety of mental issues. And what happened was that it was very unfortunate. His son took his own life.
Oh, no.
And had attacked Governor Deeds beforehand with a knife and slashed his face a number of times in an attempt to harm him. And it was just an absolutely terrible situation that has just brought a lot of light on the issue of not having enough hospital beds in the first place. Governor Deeds tried to have his son institutionalized involuntarily, so against his will, and unfortunately there just really were not enough beds in the hospitals that they approached. There was no place for him to be, and because of that, unfortunately, he didn't get the supervision he needed. And these sorts of tragic incidents, they do happen, even though they are rare.
So when it comes to taking care of the mentally ill, let's just go back a little bit. Teachers are the first line, in my opinion, of defense when it comes to watching the children, seeing how they interact, their behaviors in a sociological setting. Should teachers be taught better when it comes to what to look for, how to treat, and how to troubleshoot when it comes to a student who might be on the road or who might have issues?
I think there are two sides of this, Rob. The first is that certainly we need to make sure that our teachers are equipped to be able to identify certain signs and symptoms of children who may need some additional assistance, be it behavioral assistance, learning assistance, etc. The second, though, is to be wary when